Alright, hey everyone. So today I will be analyzing the Knight strats, right, with Sven versus F4 builds. Now, it's notoriously known that F4 builds are one of the best late game builds. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's also called the Goodstuff build, especially again. Goodstuff build, I don't agree with how that's mentioned really, so I think F4 is much better, right? Because what they're looking for is tier 4 plus units, and looking at these boards, you can kind of, you could kind of feel that it's kind of unfair. We have 2 tier 5 units here and Arc Warden as our hyper carries, right? And you would think that this board in the opposite end is actually of higher net worth, but in fact, actually, this south side of the board is actually more expensive because of these tier 3 units. Because tier 3 units require 3 tier 2s, which is like for instance Abaddon, right? So Abaddon to hit tier 2 is 9 gold, but to hit tier 3 you need 27 gold, while to hit tier 2s for tier 5 is just 15 gold. Now obviously, right, it is extremely ideal nature to get sort of tier 2s on these hyper carries. So I was thinking of improving one of these units. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna lay down the rules here for items and other stuff. Essentially, right, you're not allowed to 3-star anything that's tier 4, and you're only allowed tier 4 up, and you're only allowed 2 3-stars of your choosing, right? 2 3-stars of your choosing. So technically, this tiny should be 3-star. Oops. Technically, this tiny should be 3-star, and so is this Pudge, because they're the only low-cost heroes aside from Witch Doctor, which is also, I guess we could 3-star him as well. But I think what we should do here, right, is once again, right, it doesn't feel like there's quite enough damage. From just looking at this, right, this will clearly dominate. There's way too much damage here. The only damage on this side of the board is Luna and Dragonite, and they have a Doom. So once that Doom pops, you're pretty much dead, right? Or rather, your composition is pretty much screwed if one of these units get doomed. So it's usually, you can really see how favored this is for F4 builds, right? So right now, we're just gonna look through this, right? Do we really want a Maelstrom here? Because right now, we're trying to get the best results here. Escabanus obviously on Luna sounds good, but I'm trying to think of what other unit we want to moonshard in this composition. KS Knight is only a 2-star, right? Again, we'll adjust the values of each of how much one side gets over the other based on just in general what happens in the game. But I'd rather not have any 1-stars, right? Because this is like rather ideal versus ideal, right? And so let's just go through this combat and see what happens here. So Abaddon gets tossed to the back corner actually, which kind of sucks. Sven doesn't get his ult off, so let's see how the Knights fare when Sven doesn't get his ult off. Because previously I did mention that if Sven gets his ult off, their damage output increases drastically. So as we can see here, the Knights are actually doing pretty well. And in fact, this is, bear in mind, still even boards, so nothing has changed at this point. Looks like Knights will eventually fall here. So Knights actually got pretty far until that Stormgate's hit. So Knights, solid composition, right? It's always commonly mistaken that F4 builds are invincible. In fact, if Troll Warlord was 1-star or Medusa was 1-star, these Knights would have definitely dominated on the field, right? So you can't really say that F4 builds are a must-have composition. In fact, again, they're very expensive. And you can say Knights are very expensive, but you don't really need KS Knight here. You need 6. You can just sell him, or in fact, never look for him. But again, that's not what we're here. We're looking to see what happens if Sven gets his ult off, right? So we're gonna put Sven in a less ravaging position, right? So that he actually gets his ult off, and we'll see what happens then. But also, what always happens is that Tiny gets tossed to the, or rather, Abaddon gets tossed to the back. God's Strength is not popped yet, still waiting on that. God's Strength finally popped. So we'll see here. And look at the damage values of Luna and Dragonite. Neither of them got doomed, so you can see how much damage they're outputting. It's actually quite ridiculous. But again, the issue here is that the front line is already dead, and also Tiny is a pretty big issue because it just tosses Abaddon to the back. So what if, right, Chaos Knight gets tossed to the back because it doesn't really do much, right? So let's switch this up so that we get the best results for the Knights. And of course, Sven still gets hit by Ravage at this position. Actually, it's kind of sad. I guess we can move him over here. Let's again. Our objective is to try to pop God Strength as soon as possible, or rather, at least pop it so that we have our highest damage output. Actually, Ravage into Boat actually completely ruins that. There's way too much CC. Or is it? We'll see. Glaives are finally bouncing, and yeah, Luna's damage output is actually incredible. The problem is the fact that on the left-hand side, the tanks are still alive for the F4 build, so this Luna is not going to do much. All right, so that's sort of some experimentation with Sven, right? So what if we take out Sven and we give them another 5-star unit? How about we put in what will be a good unit for this composition? I mean, Medusa, technically Medusa, right? Because then it finished the scaled, and then it's another hyper carry. For theoretical purposes, right? Let's just add Medusa in. See if that changes the factors. That because now there's a mirror matchup of Medusa. Maybe Medusa, Medusa was the problem or something. And also I noticed that the back actually moves for space so that Tiny can toss them in. And that is something to investigate in a second. But for now, again, we're gonna have taking this out, put this on this guy, put this something like this, right, along this line. Should be solid. All right, we'll see what a difference here. So it's just the Knight buff. It's just all of these units get the Knight buff, and we'll see how that goes. Actually, Medusa gets doomed, so it's not very very good, I would say. Abaddon gets hooked in. Medusa gets tossed in. Yeah, this doesn't seem very good for the Knights here. Only half as much damage output from the last one. And they got completely railed. I think it's because Medusa got doomed. I mean, literally any units that get doomed is already pretty rough, right? So again, F4 builds are dominant, as you can see. Again, these Arc Warden is one of the best hyper carries. Troll Warlord and Medusa, also tier 5 units at 2 stars, pretty ridiculous, right? Just thinking about the RNG there, not about the cost, but rather about the RNG, or rather the how long it'll take to actually find these two, based on your luck. So what if we push everything forward, or rather we push the front line forward, and then we keep everything the same? I wonder if that buys enough time. But now Luna gets doomed actually in this scenario. But there's a Medusa, so maybe that'll change. Medusa's not getting his Stone Gaze off, which is kind of the problem here. Stone Gaze going to land. But yeah, Dragonite's trying his best to DPS, but if I'm being honest, it doesn't seem like it's enough DPS. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be changing anything to have a Medusa in there, right? The Medusa being there doesn't seem to change anything. So we'll do it like this, right? They're all frontline units. And I think another thing that's happening is the fact that Luna is moving forward, so gets hit by Ravage. So bear with me here. This will be one hell of a crazy position, but this is kind of the position I'm looking for. We'll see. We'll see. Again, we're just trying to adjust it to see if we can get the match closer, or in fact give a win to the Knights. So Luna and DK doesn't get ravaged at all. Doom comes out on the Viper. Medusa, I mean rather the boat actually stuns it for a second, but we'll see if that changes anything. Luna actually glaving through, but I think the problem is the fact that he just doesn't. Again, the Knight buff being removed does just mean that they don't do enough damage, and she dies. So let's replace this Mask of Madness, and I just realized they don't actually have another item here. So what would be a good tier 4 item actually? I guess Refresh Azor, but like I don't know. Thinking about it, Let's try Moonshard on... I don't know. Because Sven just dies immediately. He doesn't have enough HP to survive. Alright, we'll try this. Right, Moonshard, Sven. See if that changes anything. Again, Ravage just connects and instantly kills the Sven, regardless. Doom comes out of the Bat Rider, but well, again, when Sven dies, it's essentially watching a no damage Knight composition fight F4s instead of the hyper damage composition that we usually see. But again, they might have a chance here. Luna's still alive, but so is Tonka. Pumpkin dead. Dragon Knight splashing all around. Luna's dead. Dragon Knight dead. Yeah. It's looking like Knights actually have no chance regardless against this F4 build. And again, you could argue it's because of these two tier 5 units. So okay, just for argument's sake, what if because usually, right, you need more 3 stars in this composition. So what if we turn Omni Knight into a tier 3 unit? Because usually Knights have more tier 3 units, right? It's expensive, sure, but it's what they do. So it's 3. Let's do this. I mean, Sven instantly dies, so let's just put the Moonshard on Omni Knight here. So again, we're kind of seeing the double Ravage absolutely destroy. Doom comes out on the Dragon Knight, so that's half your DPS output sort of nullified here. The boat, actually, Luna's completely unaffected from this entire thing. So we'll see how that changes something. Glaives. Yeah. Seems very bleak. Seems like it doesn't matter. Obviously, the Ravage is what's winning these fights super hard. Right? These Ravages are destroying. Time to heat things up. Yeah, this guy, this watermelon is absolutely insane. Ravage just buys so much time. Okay, so again, we're experimenting here because it does seem like the consensus, the results of the hypothesis is that Knights just can't compete with the A4 build, regardless. But you know, I have a little bit of hope here. We'll try this composition and see how this goes. Right. So it's far away from the Ravage. Sven still walks towards him. Actually, Godsons finally pops here. Stone Gaze. Okay, Ravage lands on probably the least concerning units. And we'll see how that goes. Alright. Watermelon's still alive. So Luna has to stay alive here. Or they have no DPS. Okay, Luna's dead. Luna does 1800 damage, guys. That is a lot of damage. Unfortunately, Dragon Knight dies. And you can see that Luna is trying to carry here. In fact, he kills all of the front line. But it doesn't seem like it's enough. Alright. What if we try something crazy here? We'll do Daedalus on Luna. Pull that Moonshard out. And then we'll put Maelstrom on Abaddon. Again, we're trying to see what builds really work here. So Doom comes out on Luna, so it doesn't even matter that I put the Daedalus on. That's just not working anymore. This is probably a clean victory for the F4 builds. That Doom really hitting really hard. And yeah, like, summary is that Doom is very strong as a unit. So oh, this is interesting. The Doom wore off. The Doom wore off. And Dragon Knight wasn't doomed. So oh, huh. Whoa, hang on. That was bleak for quite a while, and then that happened. Yeah, we were literally giving Knights everything they needed, and it still didn't feel like it was enough. But then, right there, we see that it actually... Wow. Okay. I mean, if you look at the damage values here, Sven did nothing. In fact, he did the lowest. But that's not what we want. We want him to ult, so we get the damage output. We get the triple damage on the Luna. And as we can see here, we get that. Dragon Knight and Luna do triple damage in this fight. We'll do that again, right? So Luna gets instantly doomed. Hawking gets hooked in. Oh, that's not really important. Underlords are not the main factor here. So Luna gets doomed. But the factor is, look at how much damage Dragonite is doing. That is 400 damage per splash. And then Luna, although he's doomed, eventually that expires. And as you can see, Dragonite is buying enough time for this Luna to come online. As Luna comes online, and then kills him off. But I'm not quite sure that's the only reason, right? I'm not sure that's the only reason they won this fight. We'll run it one more time in a second, but important things to note here, right, is that it does work. It does absolutely work. As long as the Luna and the Sven, as long as the Sven gets his ult as soon as possible, and the Luna and Dragonite do not get stunned. If they do not get stunned whatsoever, they will be your hyper carries. They do enough damage. And apparently Daedalus Luna is... I mean, we haven't tested that because he gets doomed every fight, but we'll test that in a second. But that means that yeah, like, just get his ult off, and then it doesn't even matter the sustain. Like, the sustain is null and void at this point because the knights are doing triple damage, which is kind of the main point, right? We'll look through this again, right? Another thing I forgot to mention, sorry, is positioning. Right, positioning. Positioning was everything in that fight. I moved them from the left to the right so that Ravage wouldn't face check almost half the Knight board, and it worked. Right, Ravage only landed on Sven, or in fact landed on Viper like this half side. Dragonite and Luna were completely untouched. So again, from the previous video I also mentioned this, but positioning is everything. Positioning is everything, and I don't mean put everything in a corner and hope for the best. In fact, I move them up forward because that way they can get to attacking quicker, right? So key important things to note: positioning, right? And then get Sven's ult immediately. If you want to run this hyper damage Knight strat that can potentially beat Knights, or that can potentially beat F4 builds, then you need Sven to ult immediately, because that's the only way you're going to be doing damage, right? Your two hyper carries will just overwhelm them with damage. Yes, the front line is really tanky because it's warriors, but just the raw damage output from Dragonite and Luna is going to do enough, right? So once again, we're going to check to see if that Doom on Luna changed, or rather, if a Doom on Luna does change something, or if a Doom on Dragonite does something, right? So let's see here, right? Perhaps I'm talking too much. Perhaps the Dragonite Doom is going to be more significant here. We'll see. Another bolt lands. That's kind of bad. Sven is still alive actually on the side. Does more damage than he did previously. So Glaives. And wow. Yeah, absolutely. Daedalus on Luna is a new meta. So if you... Okay. This is some interesting stuff to reveal. Luna Daedalus is very strong. Look at that. 37,000 damage. She wasn't doomed this fight. It was Dragonite. That's half your... You would think that's half your damage. But it isn't. In fact, your damage increased by like 100%. Sorry, I'm choking because it's how amazing this data is. But anyways, right. So, Luna with Daedalus is meta. It's not attack speed anymore. And that makes sense, right? It makes sense that it's not attack speed anymore, because you're not buying time to glaive through all the units. You're trying to kill off as many things as possible. And when you crit, especially with God Strength on, that is... so, let's do some quick maths here. So, God Strength is 150 bonus. So, Luna is hitting for 590 damage, or 620 damage per hit, and that's a 1200 crit, right? That's a 1200 crit. That's well, look at punch, but that's a quarter of Alchemist's HP if she crits, and that glaives, that crit damage glaives through, and it's only a 30% reduction. So 1200 here, and then 900 here, and then 600 here, and so on. So yeah, that's quite something to think about, right? It's not about the attack speed anymore. All right, we'll roll this one more time, and we'll follow the Luna, because I think the Luna is the big focal point here. The Doom goes out on Dragonite, and then we'll see the Glaives bounce here. So Luna actually doesn't even glaive that much. Like, Luna is attacking these guys, and not even attacking these guys. What are the Troll Warlord and the Arc Warden doing, in fact, is my question. Oh, they're dealing with the Abaddon. Look at Abaddon. Even though there's no Night buff, he's so tanky. So, we'll follow this. Yeah, again, Troll Warlord does not compete with 600 damage Luna. Look at this. The Glaives are ridiculously high damage. So yeah, summary for today,
This could give us
right, analyzing F4 builds versus Knights, is that Knights are OP. Sven is not as bad as everyone thinks it is. I can guarantee that. I mean, we saw it right there, right? If you want damage, you need Sven. You need Sven to win. Because, okay, let's say I do this again, right? We get the scaled buff via Medusa. We'll see if this still works, right? We'll see if this still works. Okay.
Even demons will die in my feet.
Alright, Ravage comes out. On the Medusa.
Show 'em what you got.
Alright. In fact, Knights are actually winning.
Stand together.
Oh my, this is actually some great info to know about. This is amazing info to know about.
All of you will burn.
I mean, maybe it's Medusa, but or the really bad Doom, but that is actually some amazing information to know. All right, so again, Luna and Dragonite were doomed. So is Medusa. I mean, Luna is still doing the most damage, but an important thing to note is that apparently positioning is everything, right? If I put Tidehunter here and he ravages everything, you lose. Knights lose. Anything loses. So keep your compositions out of Tidehunter's face, boys, because then all calculations go out the window, because you're not going to be doing anything. Alright, well, that's kind of a known fact about the F4 build, is that Tidehunter is the only unit that matters, right? Or, I mean, the only stun that really matters at this point. The rest is just a frontline. So yeah, moral of the lesson here, avoid Tidehunter at all costs, and you will damage output far greater than the F4 build. It's with Sven. Or in fact, just buy time. You know, if you don't get ravaged, just buy time, lol. Also, Medusa may have done something with Stone Gaze and stuff. Again, there's a lot of variables here, but our main vocal point was to see if Sven actually was useful here. Right? Sven is actually useful in this composition. And the answer is yes. Quite a lot. It gives your Luna and Dragonite so much damage. Dragonite splashes and Luna glaives. Right? So, his ability is not garbage. The unit may be garbage, but its ability is not. And yeah, that will be it for now, guys. Thank you for watching.